G'day guys and gal. There are a lot of unsavory things in Warhammer 40k. Malicious aliens kidnapping and then impregnating you with their DNA to steal away your free will and turn you into an abomination destined for death is up there. That is the Genestealers in a nutshell, but there is more to it than that, as very different things occur when Genestealers infect different races. Humanity might be the vanilla choice, but Orcs, the Eldar, and the Tau can all be infected. Hell, even Space Marines can be infected. And everyone reacts differently, so I thought why not check it all out. Before we get started, we know that there is more to Manscaped than just shaving your balls, with the most safe, effective, and innovative downstairs devices there is. I mean, I've promoted them that many times, I'd bloody hope we know. But in saying that, Manscaped at its heart is all about keeping your family jewels pristine and shiny, which is why today we're doing something a bit different and focusing the entire promo on the lawnmower. More specifically, the 3.0 Plus, the 4.0 Pro, and the 5.0 Ultra, with the idea that by the time this ends, you'll know the perfect weapon to use on your quest to slay your dragon, or in this case, anesthetic pubic hair. Now you might be wondering what is the difference and which one is best for you. All three mowers are packed with the good stuff: waterproof, skin-safe technology, 60 minutes of runtime, USB-C charging. However, the 3.0 is the most economical choice, whilst the 5 has a few extra features, with the 4 being the sweet spot in the middle. I've used all three versions over the years in their original iterations, and they were all fantastic for getting the job done, so you'll be good no matter what you go for. I reckon just pick the coolest looking one and go from there. To help you with that, by using my link below, you'll get a massive 20% off and free international shipping. Cheers to Manscaped for sponsoring this video. Today we'll go over what happens when a Genestealer infects each race, detailing the level of control the Genestealer can place upon that race and how the race deals with it. We'll also look at what happens when special units like Space Marines get infected. Let's get into it. I first need to provide a bit more context on what a Genestealer is for the non-virgins in the audience. Basically, the Tyranids are lazy. Work smart, not hard. So they created a sub-race called the Genestealers. Stealthy aliens who would sneak onto a planet and slowly begin infecting its population with its own DNA via a kiss. Those infected would then breed, which would then create more and more Genestealers with the goals of eventually becoming powerful enough to destabilize the planet and make it easy pickings for a Tyranid hive fleet. The Genestealers infected would believe the Nids to be star gods coming to reward them and take them to heaven, but in reality the Genestealers would be torn apart and consumed just like everyone else, except the pure strain Genestealers, who are hard to create and are extremely deadly, so are spared and taken by the hive mind to be used as warriors or deposited on another planet to begin the cycle anew. As pure strains take 5 generations of breeding to be created, Genestealers thrive amongst races that like to fuck a lot and breed a shitload. They also like it when those races have a very poor, vulnerable and populated lower class that live near sewers or slums. So yeah, obviously humans are the victim of choice, but they have and will give Orcs, Eldar, Tau, and so on a red hot crack. With that said, let's get into the specifics. For the Genestealers, humans are their bread and butter. Hive worlds are the perfect breeding ground for a Genestealer cult. There are billions and billions of people who live at the bottom of the society, uncared for. The Genestealers would easily sneak onto the world aboard one of the thousands of ships that come and go every day to then find a nice dark underground lair, which there are plenty of in Hive City. From there, they would kidnap and infect a few dozen of society's most vulnerable who would go on to fucking breed new Genestealers. The cult would grow exponentially, unchecked, until it had produced a notable fighting force and was even now able to begin infecting higher upper class citizens. These upper class humans would then be solely focused on gaining positions of power, with this sometimes resulting in the planetary governor becoming a Genestealer, a very bad result for the humans. Due to overpopulation, poor awareness about Genestealers, and politicians playing politics and trying to avoid a panic as opposed to tackling Genestealer outbreaks head on, it's pretty common for the first indication of a Genestealer presence to be the literal Uprising Day, where most of a world's leaders are assassinated, whilst pure strains and other warrior Genestealers rise up from the surface and fight the world's military. When a human is infected, they are immediately taken over by the hive mind and will be obedient. They do not have the willpower to resist. But what if a special human, like a Space Marine, gets infected? Do they start shagging bitches and sucking Genestealer toes? Not really. A Space Marine is a terrible candidate for a Genestealer, as their dicks don't work, and the point of infecting the first generation is for them to go out and plow the shit out of everyone. A Space Marine's biology and resistance to diseases and infections also means their body will actively fight the infection and keep it from overtaking their minds. Their willpower is also legendary, meaning they can actively resist the call of the hive mind or the Genestealer patriarch. There are 2 notable cases of Space Marine infection worth talking about. infect. First was a Chaos Marine, who got infected but was able to resist the hive mind and finish his mission before he was then killed by his battle brothers for being tainted, which is, kind of ironic. The second case are the Sires of the Emperor Loyalist chapter, who had many of their battle brothers get infected when their homeworld was consumed. These battle brothers are able to resist the hive mind and perform their normal duties. They say they can constantly feel the pull of the nids, so they wear psychically dampening hoods to keep the worst of it at bay. I also imagine that these battle brothers' gene seed would be considered to be heavily tainted, thus destroyed upon the battle brothers' death. What about other enhanced members of the Imperium? I do not believe a Sister of Battle would be able to resist the hive mind, at least not like a Space Marine, as the hive mind would use their fanaticism to make them pledge to the Tyranid star gods as the true god emperor. Funnily enough, the servants of Mars, including servitors, tech priests, and Scutari, can all be infected. However, generally the mechanicalness of the servitors and Scutari will overwrite the Genestealer infection. Thus, Genestealer servitors can be used by the Imperium. Tech priests can be infected and converted into a Genestealer, but some who have very little biology remaining will be more resistant to it, and they don't make good Genestealers anyway, because once again, they don't fuck. I imagine the Custodians and Sisters of Silence will be entirely immune to the Genestealer infection. The Sister of Silence Null Aura would block the psychic mind control, and the Custodians are just way too over-engineered to fall for that shit. If a Space Marine can resist the Genestealer's kiss, a Custodians would have no issue. As an extra note, I don't even think the Genestealer infection would work on a Primarch. Their biology is simply rejecting it like a minor flu. So that covers the big one, the humans. But what about the other races? What happens when a Genestealer infects an Orc? Orcs are not very ideal hosts as they don't fuck, but since Genestealers and Orcs often both inhabit space hulks, the two sides do cross over. If an Orc is infected and is sent back to his War, the other Orcs will instinctively know that something is off and this Orc is no longer very Orky, so they will butcher him. In saying that, the infected Orcs will fall under the control of the hive mind and can act as scouts or guards for a Genestealer nest. After all, if you are hunting Genestealers but then are attacked by Orcs, you would shift your focus away from a Genestealer cult and towards a potential Orc infestation. But yeah, overall, Orc Genestealers are quite rare and are not the target of choice. Probably the second most attractive target behind humans are the Tau. They breed at a decent rate, they are quite naive to the dangers of Genestealers, and they don't have many special ways to deal with an infestation. However, due to their society not having much squalor or slums or vulnerable people, there hasn't really been many serious outbreaks. The only hectic one the Tau had was when they captured a Genestealer and experimented on it, which eventually led to a couple Tau workers getting infected who went on to breed with other Tau, and eventually there was a full-on uprising that took 10 years to put down. However, it's probably still going as it was declared productive and clean by an especially eccentric ethereal who was implied to also be infected, so who knows. This was a big L from the Tau, and it was entirely their fault as they found the Genestealer infection to be fascinating and something they should tolerate due to their acceptance of other alien life. They didn't realize it was a malicious infiltrating parasite that was a precursor to a Nid invasion. The infected Tau are much like the infected humans, their pure strains looking a little bit different but nothing crazy. However, due to the Tau's societal structure, such as the caste systems that prevent unauthorized breeding, as well as the ethereal control and science that would make Genestealer detection easy, the chance of a Genestealer infestation is low, but it does and has happened in the lore. As a side note, Kroot are very good anti-Genestealer warriors, being able to easily detect the infection and hunt it down, which gives the Tau Empire even more protection. What about the Eldar? Both Dark and Craftworld. It is extremely difficult to infect an Eldar Craftworld with a Genestealer virus. The Craftworlds are low population and heavily protected. Any infected Eldar would immediately be detected due to the psychic nature of his or her peers. On top of that, the Eldar breed very slowly. It takes multiple sex sessions to impregnate an Eldar woman, with each session depositing more and more genetic material. It would take centuries of fucking to get to having a Genestealer pure strain, by which point the infestation would have been detected and eradicated. The only time a Craftworld was actually successfully infected with Genestealers is when the Craftworld openly embraced it in order to protect their souls from Slaanesh. Even their avatar of Cain got infected and was turned into the Craftworld's patriarch, which is a little bit retarded, but kind of funny, so I'll allow it. This Craftworld was purged by the Ynnari, but overall seemed quite cognitive and kind of just accepted the Genestealer infection as the lesser of two evils. However, the chance of a genuine Genestealer uprising to occur in a Craftworld is basically zero. The Genestealers have a bit more luck infecting the Dark Elder of Commorragh, as they often bring them to fight in the arena, and there are a lot of vulnerable citizens in the Dark City. However, with their technology and slow rate of breeding, the Dark Elder's Genestealers won't get very far before they're discovered, and Dark Elder kill teams are sent to exterminate them. Overall, the Elder are just a terrible choice of host for the Genestealers. We haven't gotten any Leagues of Votann lore regarding Genestealers yet, but I imagine they would be in a similar boat to the Tau or the Elder in terms of infection. It's possible, just really difficult due to the society's structure. And this will surprise absolutely nobody, but the Necrons cannot be infected by the Genestealers for obvious reasons. This ties into the fact that the Necrons are hard counters to the Nids. Trazyn the Infinite was even able to capture a Genestealer army in one of his Pokeballs and then infected their minds with nanobots that made them subservient to him when he released them from their Pokeball in order to fight a Transcendent Catan Shard, so he was able to turn the tables a bit on that one. Overall, Genestealers were created to infect humans. Humanity is the most powerful and numerous force in the galaxy and needed a special solution. The Genestealers' ability to sort of maybe infect other races is just a side bonus, and they don't consider it a big deal when an Eldar force or Tau world is able to easily uproot and exterminate a Genestealer cult. If you enjoyed the video and you want to support the channel, then Patreon is the place to be, where we've just uploaded another unedited photo deck from the 2024 Nude Cosplay calendar. Hit the subscribe button and hit the real subscribe button for more Genestealer content. Join the Discord for more memes, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.